Okay, so I don't know who needs to hear this, but two truths can coexist at the same time. And with that, I'm referring to the sun and how it's medicine and can be super healing and necessary for our immune system, but also damaging depending on how you relate to it. So for me, I obviously have very pale skin. I've got skin cancer in my family. I was a natural born redhead. I'm kind of auburn now with strawberry blonde highlights, but I was, okay? And so I freckle, like I call it, call it summer. It's the season of freckles for me. And I just want to make a little video to kind of play devil's advocate. I don't like that word. I'm just going to question the biohacker narrative, because I do agree with it. I am super holistic and I am, all about conscious consumerism. But there's a lot of confusion going on and distorted sun truths about different types of exposure. And, damage happens 3 millimeters under the skin, and it takes 10 years to surface. So just because you go out and you get a tan and it fades, it doesn't mean that that went away. It just means that you can't see it. And what's so important about this is so many people are out there and boycotting sunscreen, which I don't blame you, because it's super, super toxic. But it's not all sunscreens are created equal. There are natural sunscreens out there and they're actually beneficial. And so I'm going to break down the benefits and the dangers of sun exposure. And this comes from somebody who has a lot of skin cancer in my family. My dad's skin cancer was very aggressive, and it's not because he consumed seed oils, it's because he had a lot of sun exposure when he was younger without sunscreen, and he burned repeatedly. And there's 3 main types of skin cancer: basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma. And just so you know, I did my thesis on skin cancer, so I am pretty well versed in this. I was actually one of the top 10 chosen to present my thesis in the master ceremony, and I did it because I was inspired because of my family history. Okay, so I'm not just talking out of my ass, so I'm just going to share some information with you. So the sun isn't your enemy, but also protecting your skin isn't either, okay? Because the sun is sacred, it's healing, it is medicine, it is the life giver on this planet. It's essential for our hormone regulation, our mood, our vitality, but your skin is your largest organ, and a sunburn is still trauma on the skin. I recently got sunburned. This is like tanning, because this actually has seen the light of the day. My legs, on the other hand, burned to a crisp, okay? And I have very pale skin, so there's a lot of factors that you need to consider, like your skin tone. I was a natural born redhead. I have very pale skin and I freckle, and I actually do tan a little bit, but I burn first. So I'm at a greater risk because my skin doesn't naturally produce as much melanin as, say, somebody in I don't know, like Africa or in the Middle East or something, who have more of like an olive or darker skin tone, right? And they have a lot more melanin production naturally. That being said, there are ways to naturally increase the melanin in your skin, okay? But I'm just gonna break this down because there's a lot of misinformation, and I love controversy, don't get me wrong, but I just feel a duty to clarify this because I saw my father suffering, okay? And he wasn't eating seed oils and stuff when he got it. He had basal cell skin cancer, which is the least dangerous of the 3. Well, I don't know, squamous and basal, I guess they're kind of equal, but melanoma is the one that can go to your blood and travel to your brain. It's the most dangerous, and I actually think that I had it at a point in my life when I was very ungrounded. It normally shows up in spots that don't get exposure to the sun, ironically. The other ones are from overexposure, and they often happen later on in life to older people because it's the cumulative damage over the years from overexposure to the sun. Your skin is your largest organ, and with a sunburn, like, this is okay. It's still actually a little warm. It's been 3 days. I was so red. My legs hurt. I had to take a cucumber bath with aloe vera and ice cubes in it because my legs were burning. Like actually burning. They were like steaming for like 2 days. I couldn't even sleep the first day. I was in that much pain. I had a fan blowing on me, and every time I touched the sheets, it would hurt me. So it's not fun, okay? And I know better. I know that I need to at least cover up. It was just the circumstances. It was kind of last minute. I was out on a jet ski, and so I also didn't really feel the sun as much because there was wind blowing and water. But after about 5 hours, I was burnt to a crisp, and I just kept getting redder and redder and redder. So yeah, so anyways, that being said, every sunburn can increase your chance of skin cancer, especially if it's peeling and then repeated burns, because it's just repeated trauma to the skin. As I mentioned, 3 millimeters under the skin is where the damage happens. We can't see this normally. I mean, maybe you can if you've got crazy UV photoreceptors in your eyes, but there are UV cameras that it's basically kind of almost looks like an x-ray, and you can see all the spots. I'm sure I have a lot because I freckle, so those are all sun damage spots, right? But you can see the sun damage that will be surfacing. So that's another thing. If you're, conscious of your appearance, overexposure to the sun might look good now, but 20 years from now, are you going to look like a leather couch? Because the skin damage, the tan fades, but the skin damage stays, right? And so there are ways now that you can, mitigate or reduce the damage, such as laser treatments or peels, but they're often very expensive. So that's also just something to be mindful of. But yeah, so I did my thesis on skin cancer, and I learned a lot. And so I also learned about tanning beds, which is where I kind of chose to focus my energy, because they're the absolute worst, okay? So they emit UVA radiation that's 10 to 20 times stronger than the sun. And not only that, the wavelengths are different. They're different than the sun spectrum is what I mean to say. And they're more damaging to our DNA because they penetrate deeper layers of the skin. And so people often consider it safer because it's controlled in this controlled environment, but it's not. It's quite the opposite. And I'm just kind of against anything that's artificial. I don't want to say against, but I just prefer natural methods of doing something, because this artificial UV is way more aggressive and more dangerous. And so my thesis argument was that tanning beds should be labeled carcinogenic, just like cigarettes come with a warning label, because it's available to the public, and it's really just artificial radiation exposure that can cause cancer. I was very biased because I actually thought the sun was bad, but now I don't. I think it's medicine. So here's a few things people don't realize: that the early morning sunlight, like right when the sunrise happens, there's red and infrared light that the body is meant to receive. This is why it's so important that we rise with the sun and go to bed at a reasonable time. Not many of us do that, but that's kind of how we're designed. And this is just our natural human code, right? Is to wake up, be awake during the day when we can see, and sleep at night, because we have photoreceptors in our eyes, in our skin, and in our gut. So this creates a positive immune response that helps regulate your circadian rhythm. It balances out your hormones, it boosts serotonin, and it even supports your own melanin production, your own body's UV defense. It is immune boosting, and we call it vitamin D, but as I mentioned, it's a hormone, and it's so necessary for helping us treat and regulate maybe all, I don't know, but a plethora of different diseases, okay? So what I do is I just avoid chemical sunscreen, which contain toxic ingredients that are chemicals and not only damaging to your skin, but also the environment. I use zinc-based sunscreen when I need it. It kind of can be very white, but whatever, I'd rather that than absorbing all those toxins. And I do absorb the sun naturally. If I'm just going out walking, that's why this didn't burn so badly, because I do have a little bit of natural protection. I seek shade when needed, and I protect my skin, or even with hats. I cover up with light clothing, and also I nourish my body from the inside. So I avoid seed oils, which we'll get into, clean water, clean food, like whole foods, and minerals. So this is also a root chakra wisdom, because I'm protecting my sacred vessel, but it's also solar power sovereignty, because I'm tuning in to the circadian cycles and tuning in with the sun, because that is our ally, but so is discernment. And not everybody's body is going to be reacting the same way. When you burn your skin, it continues cooking. It will continue to burn from the inside because those UV rays penetrate deep into beyond the surface, right? And so it's rising, all that cellular damage. So yeah, I took cold baths with cucumber, aloe vera, and even threw in some ice cubes, and that cooled me down a bit. Then I tried to go to bed, I was shivering, and then I got hot again. So it was just really uncomfortable for the first 24 hours. But yeah, so I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying if you have pale skin, this is just a friendly reminder that no amount of hoping or loving the sun or sun worshiping, if your skin is pale, remember it's your largest organ and it can get damaged. And like I said, a peeling sunburn is actually an increased risk of getting skin cancer, which is not pretty, okay? My father had skin cancer and it was painful for him to watch. He had constant parts of his skin removed. He even had a skin graft, okay? And I don't want to demonize the sun because I love the sun. So I do want to share some of the positive benefits of the sun, okay? It's vitamin D. Sorry, there's alarms going off. I don't know if you can hear that. Vitamin D synthesis, which is a hormone, but it helps increase our mood or improve our mood, our bone health, immunity, our hormonal imbalance. It helps with our circadian rhythm and this regulation, so we get better sleep, we have a balanced cortisol levels, and we feel better. It's just how it goes. It also helps in nitric oxide release, which has benefits to your heart, your cardiovascular system, and it helps produce endorphins and serotonin, which are the happy hormones, natural mood boosters, and it can also improve your eye health, especially that morning light, that sun gazing right at sunrise with those infrared lighting affects your retinal. And for some balanced truth, because it's true that there are dangers to overexposure from the sun. Like UVB burns the skin if you get too much of it, and it hurts. It can also increase inflammation and DNA damage as it penetrates really deep. When the UVA penetrates your skin, it can also create collagen breakdown, and damaged skin creates premature aging. So this risk increases if your antioxidant defenses are low. So if you don't eat well, if you smoke, it's basically lifestyle, alcohol, high stress. Not all skin types are the same. We're all at different risks. So use your own discernment when you're listening to this. Okay, so not all sunscreens are created equal. A lot of them have a whole list of toxic chemicals, which I will list. But they also block vitamin D synthesis, which is where we get all the benefits of the sun. So this is a huge problem. But there are natural ones like zinc and titanium, which are natural and way more earth-friendly and safer. The only default is sometimes they leave a little bit of a white mark, but it soaks in, trust me. Okay, so I'm gonna expand a little bit on seed oils.
Grab the free guide. Everything I covered is listed in one beautiful, easy to read, complimentary PDF. The link is right below in the description.